Hello and welcome to another example of how we can work with Graph API in our SPFx web parts. So this time we will see how we can work with SharePoint. I hope you have gone through the previous lecture where we explained how we can work with Graph API but to connect to Azure Active Directory, as well as how we can retrieve the users events from the Outlook or the meetings from the Outlook. So those examples we have already done to both the things to with no JavaScript framework as well as React framework. On this example, we will see how we can work with a SharePoint list or SharePoint basically with Graph API, and we will retrieve all the list and libraries from the SharePoint site using Graph API, and we will display in our list or SPFX web part. Now the demo we will do in JavaScript from no JavaScript framework as well as in React as well. So in the right side you can see this is how we are displaying all the list and libraries, the name and the URL. So both the things we will able to see. This particular example, I have the demo I have created because this is more or less the same way that we have created the previous example. So I don't want to waste time on that. So I will explain that and then we will deploy and then see how it is working. But before going into that, I will show you a couple of things on that. So I'll put this URL in the document from where you can see this. So this is basically how we can work with SharePoint sites with Microsoft Graph. So now if you'll see there is a list, sorry, site is there. And if you'll see here, there are various methods are available, which will return things over there. For example, let's say I will click on this get list. Now, if you'll see here, actually, this is the Graph API or the HTTP URL, which will provide you the list and libraries for this particular site collection. If you'll see here, this is same Graph API, graph.microsoft.com, and then the version number, and then it is saying sites slash, then site ID, and then a slash list. Now this site ID, how we can retrieve the site ID? A lot of time we can retrieve the site ID by using the REST API URL. So if you'll see here, I have the Enjoy SharePoint, the site name, and then I will say underscore API and then wave. So once you do this, you will be able to get a lot of properties for this particular web. And actually, if you'll see, there is if I will look for ID, so you can see here, this is the ID that the site ID it is providing. But let me just copy this site ID and I will go to the Graph Explorer, and here if you'll see, I will just copy this ID here, and this is the same ID which I explained you. So https graph.microsoft.com version 1.0 slash site slash the list, the site ID and then list. So if I'll actually now go here and I will just run this query, you can see here it is showing that the requested site could not be found. Now how we can actually retrieve the site ID which will work in this case is, let me just show you, I have in another tab the Graph Explorer, which will actually display me all the sites for this particular tenant. Now if you'll see here, I run this one, sites question mark search equal to star. So what it will do is it will give me all the sites and the details. So I will just run the query again. Now if you'll see here, actually it is giving me the site name. So if you'll see here, there is a communication site, and then if you'll see here, there is a test team site. So basically these are the site details it is providing. Suppose created date, description, ID. So in the ID, if you'll see, there are three things it is showing. The first one is the tenant name it is showing. The second one is one ID, and the third one, the ID that we saw while retrieving the ID by using the REST API. So if you'll see here, this is the same ID it is providing after this after this comma. Now we can take the first one, and if I'll just copy this first one and now I will run it. If you can see here, now it is giving me the details. So it is giving me the details of this particular site. So if you'll see here, there is description, there is created date, there is e tag, id, name, web URL. So these things are there on this particular when I'll actually run this graph query. Now what next there are some other properties also are there. So apart from this all these details, you can see the because we are retrieving all the list and libraries, so you can see here it is showing the demo list, generic list, which is a generic list, and then similarly there will be a document library. So all this and there is a product list. So this list and library, it is showing basically two list and one library it is showing, which is there in this particular site for this ID, which is nothing but this is my site enjoy SharePoint, and from that it is showing me the list and libraries. Now, next thing is how we can run this and how we can use or how we can display this in the web part. So the first one, what we will do is we will see in the no JavaScript framework, which is simple in this case. And I have a project on this. I will also upload this project. You can see here there is a try graph API list web part .ts file is there. This is a normal SPFx web part that I have created, selecting no JavaScript framework. So if you have any existing project, you can use that, or you can simply create a new project by following the steps that we discussed previously. And then the first thing we do is the import statement. This one I explained you before also in the previous lecture. So first we import this, and then everything we did in the render method. So what we did here is, so you can see here, this is what we usually use to run a query. So get client dot then our ms graph client, and this is the API that we are executing here. So in this case, if you'll see here, this is the site ID. So this is for this particular enjoy SharePoint ID that I have added. So sites slash your site ID and list. Now this will come in the response. So whatever the response it will come, it will be there in this response. Now once you have this, I just have a for loop. So response dot value dot length, so the number of items will be there on, in this case, list or libraries. It will run that many times. And then if you'll see here, a site name, I just taken a variable, so string variable. So we are appending all this thing name, which is the display name, and the URL is the web URL. And these properties you can get it from the graph explorer. So you can see here, this is the web URL and this is the name. So both the things we are displaying, sorry, the display name and the web URL. This name is the internal name that whatever you have provided. So those things, that thing it will return. Now once we have this, so everything now we have in this list site, which is a string, and then we are binding it here. You can see here there is the expression that we are evaluating the list site. So all list and libraries, and then we have this. So this is the only thing that we do when we work with our React no JavaScript framework. Sorry, no JavaScript framework. This is how we usually do it. Now of two, so this like I said before, we cannot see this in our local workbench, so we have to test in the SharePoint workbench. So what I'll do is I will navigate to this folder. So I will say cd try graph API list. So list, and you can see here. So this is where we are now, and we need to run the commands over here. What are these commands? These are the commands that actually we need to run: gulp build, and then bundle hyphen zip, and then the package, so that we can once it will generate the package, we will be able to upload into the app catalog site. So I'll just copy this, and let me just copy it here. So we will build it first, and then the gulp bundle hyphen zip command we will use. So I will also this source code I will zip it so that you can download and you can check it. So these are so to understand more on this, basically we need to first figure out what will be our graph API, and based on that only we will get the response, and then we can calculate that. So it is just taking some time. So you can see here the build command is running. So you can see here it is done now. So now gulp bundle hyphen hyphen zip. So once we'll run this command, then we will create our package command. So I will just put it once this command will execute it successfully. It is just taking some time. So you can see here now it is over. So I will run the last command, gulp package hyphen solution hyphen hyphen save. This will create the SPPKG file, which is the package file, and we can use that package file to upload into the SharePoint app catalog. So if you'll see here now, this is over. And if you'll see here, this is the SharePoint folder. So I will just reveal in Explorer. You can see here under this solution, you can see this is the package file, and this is the time that it has been we have been uploaded, or it has been created. Now I will go to my app catalog site. So this is my app catalog site. So this is the app for SharePoint. Now I will just go here. I will drag and drop here. This is already exist, so I'll just click on replace, and then we will deploy it. You can see here it is deployed. So the solution which is this one. So make sure that it will be by default it's checkout. So just go to the files tab and check in it. So once you will check in, then that will be available in this site. So this is basically the site, Enjoy SharePoint site, that we have provided the site ID. So make sure that you have since I have already added, so else you can just click on add an app, and you can use the solution from here. So in this case we have already added. So if I'll actually show you the site content, we will be able to see it. So you can see here graph API list calendar. This is a client side solution. So this is what is we have created now. So I will go to the pages. So this demo.spx, this is our page from where we can edit and add the web part. So click on edit. So in the edit mode, so I'll click on this add and just search for try, and we should be able to see our web part. So the first one, the second one, try graph list web part. This is web part, and you can see here now it is providing us the name of the list and then the URL of the list. So you can just publish, and we will be able to see the list and libraries here. So this is how we saw how we can work with the no JavaScript framework. Now let me show you the example how we can work with the React framework. But before that, let me show you one more example where actually we retrieve the users. So this is a no JavaScript framework web part project, and I will also attach this solution. You can have a look at that. So in this case, what is happening is we have the users. So what this users will do is it will actually provide you all the users that presented in your Office 365. So if I'll actually go to the Graph Explorer, and I will just put over here, and I'll run this query, you will be able to see the users who are there presented in over here. You can see here this is the display name, the given name, mail, phone number, all these properties. So the number of users are there. You can see here 5-6 users are there, and it is displaying all the users. Now the same way, uh, here we have done a for loop, and then we retrieve the display name and then the mail. And the other process we have done the same thing. You have to make this package and then upload in the app catalog site, and then once you made this, then you can go and you will be able to see the users like this. You can see here it is providing the name, email, like this. So the next thing I will show you how we can work with the React framework, because here we saw these are simple. We are writing everything on the render method, and we just using a for loop, and then our code is done. So this is what we have done here, and then we got the string, and then finally we render it here. Um, but when we are actually doing with the React framework, it is little different on that. So basically, this is how when you will create a React application. So you have not created, you can just create a React framework application web part. So just select all this option. Only thing is the framework, when it will ask, just select React. And once your project is ready, you will not be able to see the state, but apart from that, other files you will be able to see. So the web part file, and then the tsx file, and the props file. So these things we will be able to see. And in the props file, by default, if you will see, there will be a description properties will be there, or props will be there. Now in this case, what we have to do is, so we have to first of all, we need to provide the graph client over here in the props, so that we can access it in the tsx file. Now I just run the import command, but make sure before that you need to run the command over here. So the command will be, let me just show you that command once. So this is the command we have to run. So the moment you created the application or the project, then first thing you do is you run this command npm install Microsoft hyphen graphs hyphen types and hyphen save hyphen dev. So this is the command that we have to run, so that we can able to use the graph in the React framework projects. It's the only command that we require. So once you have this, then you can see here we have the interface here in the props. So by default there will be a description. You can use that, or if you want, you can just use the graph client. So if of type ms graph client, and then create a state file. So the state file, actually what we are going to do here is we are going to create the state file which is of type an array and of type ilist item. Ilist item is nothing but an interface. You can see here I have added another TS file. So this is an interface. So export interface ilist item, and it will be having two properties are there of type string. So the display name and the URL. Let's say you want to retrieve more properties, then you can just add more properties here, so that when we will retrieve, all these properties will come. So in this case, we are retrieving only the display name and the URL. So I created the interface, and then in the state, we declare one list, and which is of type array ilist item. So this we have to use ilist item, we have to import it from our ilist item.ts file. So once both the things has been done, open the web part file. So in the web part file, if you'll see here, this dot context dot ms graph client factory dot get client, and this is the ms graph client that we are assigning here the client to the properties, so that we can use it in our tsx file. So now if we'll go to the tsx file, so you can see here this dot props dot graph client, and we are running the dot api over here. So now before to that one, so if you'll see here, we are using the Office UI Fabric list, so that we can display the items, and then this is the iList item because we are going to use here, and then we have the state and the props. So the state here, first of all, in the React component in the class, you add this state basically, and then the constructor. So I have explained this constructor in the previous videos also. So we have to write first super props, so that we can use the props in the file. Now this dot state is of the list which is of type array, and then this component did mount. So basically when it will load, this code will execute. So our code will execute here, and it will, if you'll see here, so this is the array of items that we are getting. So how, from where we are getting, whatever the response will have, So the list response will have now all the list and libraries from the site. So, and I declare a variable of type this array list item, and then if you'll see here value dot map item, and then we add the item to that array. So if you'll see here post, then display name item dot display item dot web URL. So this is basically the properties that we are getting from the SharePoint or from the graph. So basically now if you'll see here, this will give all the list, the display name and the URL. So we did the then we did the set state, so list, and this will be all list. And then in the render method, so we are using that control where we are displaying the item, so list item. So this dot state dot list, and on the render we are actually calling this on render event cell, which is taking the item parameter of type ilist item, so that we can retrieve the properties. So we put in s3 item display name and item URL. So almost similarly the way we did in the last example on the React to reading the calendar events from Outlook, we are doing the same thing, but here we are reading from the SharePoint list. So based on that only we created our interface or our state things over here. Now once you have done this, so we will run the same commands here. So for this I will just go a little backward and I will go to this folder. So cd try graph API list React, and we will have to run the commands here. So the same commands that we are going to use, gulp build. So the gulp build will build this one, so that if any error or something will be there, we will be able to catch. So if you'll see here, this is the gulp build command is over. So we will run the gulp bundle hyphen hyphen save, and then we will do the package command, package hyphen solution, so that it will create the package file which we can upload into the app catalog site. Now if you'll see here, so once it is done, we will run the command over here. So you can see here, gulp package hyphen solution hyphen hyphen save. This is so that we can deploy this to our SharePoint online app catalog site. So once it is done, go to the SharePoint folder, and I forget to tell one thing. So we will go to the package hyphen solution, and this is the permission that we required, and this is required for both the things. When we will work with no JavaScript framework or React framework, we require these things. So web app API permission, and then if you'll see here, Microsoft Graph, and then scope site dot read all. So this is what we required, the permission we required over here. So how where we can get this is, I will put this URL in the document. So this is the URL actually where you will be able to see what are the permissions are required. For example, if I will go little down over here, you can see here, let's say for this application, let me go. So if you'll see here, let's say you are working with booking, then you can see here bookings.read.all. So similarly, this is what we are using, sites.read.all. So we require read permission, because if you have read permission, we will be able to read the list library names from the SharePoint site. So now I will go to this SharePoint folder. You can see here on this. Now this is the package file. So we will go to the apps for SharePoint. Remember, this is our app package, or sorry, this is our app catalog site, and I will just drag and put it here. I will just replace it since I have this thing is presented there. If you don't have, then it will not ask that thing. So I will just come down. You can see here, this is checked out. So I'll just check in. I'll just put a comment, click on OK. So now this web part will be available on the SharePoint sites. So this is the site, and I have already added this web part. Let me just show you. If I'll go to the site content, remember this is the Enjoy SharePoint site, because we put the site ID over there. And you can see here, try graph API list React client. So the last one is the app that we have added. Now let me edit this, and I will click on add and just search for try. And if you'll see here, try graph, So I just refresh it once, so it came. Now you can see here, try graph API list React web part. And now I'll just republish this. You can see here it is showing me the list name and then the URL. So three list, I mean one library and two lists are there, you can see here, and it is displaying me both the things. So this is how we can work with a graph API for SharePoint. And there are some other examples are there. In future we will add some more videos on this as well. And I will upload these three projects. One is with for the users, and one is with React, our SharePoint list, and with no JavaScript framework. And also I'll upload the document into it, so we can see how we can, what are the permissions required from this reference URLs. And this is the site where you can check the graph API URLs. And this is the explorer where actually you can put and you can check what are the properties are available on this graph API.